The NBA All-Star break has just passed, and it's really got me thinking, what does the future of this league actually look like? You see, over the past weekend, we've seen some of the greatest players to ever step on an NBA court meet up and be celebrated in Indiana. And if we take a look at a few of the, All-Star selections for this season, some of the biggest headliners are getting up there in age. Of course, we've got the obvious one in LeBron James, who is currently 39 years old, reaching 40, and is still a top 10 talent in the NBA. He is the anomaly here, okay? He is the exception, because we've never seen anyone play in the NBA for this long and still be this great. So I couldn't tell you how long LeBron's gonna last. But there are a few other guys where their primes have come and went, and they're reaching the later stages of their career. They're still in All-Star games, but I don't see them being at this level, 5 years from now. I'm talking about the Kevin Durant's and the Stephen Curry's, okay? Both guys are 35 years old, and honestly, do I see them playing into their 40s? No. Honestly, I couldn't see them playing into their 40s. They've gone through a lot of injuries. Who knows how long their primes last, because no one may ever reach LeBron James' status. And then you've got a couple younger guys, by a few years. Of course, you got your Kawhi Leonards, your Paul Georges, your Damian Lillards, all who are well past their prime at this point, all who have had slightly bigger fall-offs than the previously guys mentioned. I say all of that to say, these superstars you've grown up with your entire life, you've seen dominate for the past 2 decades, yeah, they're getting old. And there are these young, exciting players on the rise. So the question is, who will be the next face of the NBA? Because since LeBron James entered the league in 2003, he's essentially been the face of the league. Of course, there was a time and place where, early into LeBron's career, you had Kobe Bryant. And when you thought NBA, you thought Kobe Bryant. And before Kobe, you had Michael Jordan. And before Jordan, you had Magic and Larry Bird. And it goes on and on. But the question is, who comes after LeBron? Because there isn't that name that's just there for you, that you can think off the top of your dome, he will be the next face of the NBA. It's a question you actually have to think about. And there are a few honorable mentions. Of course, you've got guys like a Jason Tatum, who's been to the NBA Finals, is on a historic franchise, and has even been considered in the MVP race for the past few seasons. However, is he a little too old to take the mantle? Because you gotta remember, this guy is 25 years old. By the time those superstars are done and out of the league entirely, he will be in his late 20s. And at that point, do you really see him being the face of a league for maybe like 5 or 6 years? No, not really. And you could say, well, what about the MVPs, the guys who are currently winning it? Yeah, Jokic and Giannis, they're only 2 or 3 years younger than the guys I had mentioned at the beginning of the video, so they're also out of it. You see, if we want to go to the next face of the NBA, we have to start digging deep and look at the true young talent that this league has to offer. One of the big names I've seen floating around is actually Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, superstar for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And when you look it up, he is the exact same age as Jason Tatum. It just doesn't feel that way because Tatum has been in the spotlight for a lot longer. But here's the thing about Shai that you have to remember. His team is super young. He is one of the older guys on his squad, and this team is loaded with talent and destined to be a dynasty. So depending on how he performs over the next 3 or 4 years in the postseason, he could easily be the face of the league. Because let's be real, Tatum had that opportunity and he just hasn't won an NBA Finals. I think winning, it comes down to, being the face of the league. To be the face of the league, you have to be in the playoffs constantly, have to be in the MVP talks constantly, and have to be winning rings. Now, Tatum has the opportunity to do so now. However, I think Shai and the Oklahoma City Thunder are built for a great future for the next decade. So I'm really excited to see how the Thunder take off from here. They've got a ton of draft capital, more than anybody else in the league, and they've already got a ton of talent on their roster. However, Shai isn't my favorite to be the new face of the NBA. that would have to go to Anthony Edwards. Currently only 22 years old, so he is a bit younger. That's a plus. He is in his 4th season in the NBA. He's in a small market in Minnesota. And the thing about the Timberwolves is that they are first place in the Western Conference right now. And the pieces that the Timberwolves have used and built around Anthony Edwards fit his, play style. Currently, you have a DPOY candidate, 2-3-time DPOY winner down low in Rudy Gobert. Sure, did they give up a lot to get him? Yes, but it's clearly seeming to pay off. And if the Timberwolves or the Thunder make a run and maybe even a finals appearance, I do think we see the beginning of a new era starting this season. You see, Anthony Edwards' stats have soared year after year. Currently, he's averaging 26 points per game on 47% shooting from the field, 38% shooting from the three-point line, and he's even bagged a career-high 5.3 assists per game. Anthony Edwards has never looked better than he is right now, and he's got a really solid co-star in Karl Anthony Towns. At one point, Cat was supposed to be the new face of the franchise for the Timberwolves. That didn't work out, but that's not to say he isn't a really good center. Hell, one of the best big men in the league currently. That is why the Timberwolves sit at first in the Western Conference. If you want to see me talk more about the Timberwolves, I made a video recently right here, so you can go check that out. And other than the fact that the talent is clearly there for Anthony Edwards, he is consistently healthy. He hasn't had a season where he's played less than 70 games, or off the court issues like some of the younger guys. And before I get to the last guy who I believe has a real shot at being the new face of the league, a few honorable mentions are, Ja Morant. I felt like Ja Morant just a year or two ago would definitely be in these conversations, but with everything that happened to him off the field, it's really hard for me to visualize Adam Silver and the NBA marketing Ja Morant as the new face of the league. And then you've got a guy like Zion Williamson, where the hype was absolutely there for this man. Heck, he was supposed to be the second coming of Jesus when he walked into the league. He just hasn't managed to stay healthy. And honestly, this year's been a bit better. It's gone a little bit under the radar. The media doesn't seem to cover him as much as when he was coming into the league. That's because I honestly believe the hype died out around him. But if he is able to prove, the entire media wrong and go on a little run in this year's playoffs, I do think people will start talking about Zion the same way again. But let's get to the final guy who has a real face of the league potential. I'm talking Victor Wembanyama. How can we not talk about Wembanyama? The thing about him is he is a rookie, a lot younger than the other guys I've listed, but honestly, with how long the old guard has stayed around, I do think that Wembanyama has a good chance to take the reins from them right off the bat. The thing about him and the Spurs, though, are that the Spurs are one of the worst teams in the NBA, and like I mentioned earlier, you have to have success, not only as an individual, but as a team for you to be even considered at the very top. Again, this is his rookie year, and in his rookie year, he's played 49 games, and he's looked pretty damn good. Currently averages 20 points, 10 total rebounds, and about 3 blocks per game, and is shooting 46% from the field, 32% from the three. Honestly, this man may be unstoppable by year 3, and that's just the truth. But anyway, that's about it for this video. Really just wanted to cover some of the young faces who I believe could carry the mantle from LeBron James. Catch y'all later. Much love. Deuces.